Hello, friends, and welcome to Balloon Wall. I'm your host, Weston, and I'll be joined by Alex as we continue our foray into alternate universe podcasts. This time, Profoundish being taken over by Balloon Wall, where we discuss semi-random topics, but most importantly, give you a number of good book recommendations. You're listening to Balloon Wall.
Okay, so I thought about this really quick. Or I didn't think about it, I saw it, and why it made me laugh. I was going through, this was a couple months ago now, but I was going through some of my old tapes, partially looking for Julius Caesar stuff. And I
Only
told you
partially.
about that, 'cause remember I said
Only out of obligation.
Shut up! No, like really. I can't remember why, but because I need to digitize everything, and then I kind of went on this trip of memory lane and stuff, and I saw some of these videos that we did, and I forgot I don't know why I did this, because I could have put the cap on the lens, but when we would do voiceover work, right, we would just use the camera, but we wouldn't record anything important, and then I would just edit it over later, right? That's the technology I had at the time. But I don't know. This definitely can't go in the main episode, but
It's going in. It's going in.
I remember. I don't know if you remember this, but anytime we would do voiceover work, and you were always the dummy for it for some reason, but it'd be like, I would always record something stagnant, and it'd usually be one of your body parts. So it'd be like, later that day, Bob went to the store, but then and I would edit that so you would see Bob going to the store and you would just hear the voice. But if you looked at the raw footage of when that audio was captured, I would be zoomed in on your bare ankle, or sometimes it was your crotch. You were just sitting in a computer chair and it was just zoomed in, and just with the crotch area of your pants.
I think
Bob went to the store. It was so random.
I think I remember seeing that too when I wasn't the subject. I think it'd be like someone's elbow. You know, you squeeze your elbow together to look like a butt.
Then it would just be voiceover. I don't know if at the time, I don't know why I did it, because it really wasn't to make myself laugh later. It wasn't, but it got me to laugh 15 years later.
This was a recording for your future self. That's what it was. You're like, one day future me will appreciate the artistic
look at the
merits.
foresight. I will say though that, that's just the nature of old tapes. Is that, you'd record over your own stuff, and, especially when you're a kid, you just don't really think about that stuff. So, I would just see bits and pieces of, a recital at our high school, and someone's up there singing piano, or singing a song on piano, and they're singing their heart out, and then it just cuts, and it's just your crotch. And then, mid-song, it's later that day, Bill felt sad. And then it goes back to, me singing in the choir at the school. It was just so weird. Anyway, it's a trip. I should just upload that just raw. It just all the
no
weird
context.
No context. I bet you that would probably do better than anything I've ever put out before.
This tracks for me. I don't know. This is just leading up to my ultimate destiny, where I need to shoot a bunch of videos of just my crotch. I'm wearing pants. I'm in jeans, but it's just with the wildest voiceover of what's happening, but you can't see it. Because that reminds me of even when we were doing Coffee at 8, shout out to Nostalgic Studio, Camp Nostalgic. When we were doing Coffee at 8 stuff, we were going to do a whole segment that was meanwhile, deep inside Weston's balls. It was a whole noir, a noir film of what was going on inside,
outside his testicles. That is completely true. Deep inside the balls of Weston Hasty. And it would just be a picture, I envisioned it. Your clothes were fully on. I pictured you wearing shorts though. But then it just zooms in on your crotch, and it goes black for a second and opens back up, and it's this whole noir setup.
Yeah, there was nothing, for those of you out there listening and you're very lost and confused right now, there was nothing sexual about this. It was just that the setup, the premise was wild.
The setting was in his balls.
Correct. That's it. It was Osmosis Jones, that movie Osmosis Jones, but specifically one body part, not the whole body.
That's exactly right. That was I remember liking that movie when I was a kid.
I did, and I remember. Oh God, what's the name of the actor in the live actions part? The guy that was like actually
Bill
sick.
Murray.
Bill Murray. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name to save my life. Bill Murray was just like so especially gross in that movie, which is what he was supposed to be. Yeah, just disgusting. I love fried chicken. Him asking for chicken legs in that one scene where he's just like crippled on the recliner going, leg, and he's like eating chicken wings or whatever he's eating. And I'm like, I'd never been more like horrified to watch a man eat chicken.
There's a scene where there's a part where I don't know if does he vomit or he just spits up a bunch of food?
He like
or something.
Well, there's one where he's got like a zit or something that blows up.
That's it.
And there's like pus
It's
everywhere,
the
and it like
zit.
lands
I
on
hated
a
that.
woman's face that he's talking to.
I remember the zit. I think I remember something coming out of him.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think there's one where he
that was
sneezes,
gross.
but I don't remember. Yeah, the zit one was that he was so fantastically gross for that movie.
yeah. Great job,
Bill
Bill.
Murray. Well
job.
done. But then, of course, the animated part of the movie was good too. But I think just what stands out in my brain the most is the live action and just how obscene it felt.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was like
They
straight
just don't
up.
make movies like they used to.
You know, they do not. For better or for worse, they do not.
They really don't, yeah.
That could be a whole different thing for a different episode where we talk about movies, but like I don't feel like we're big enough movie guys to really get into the weeds on that. But I do feel like movies are contemporary movies that are popular now are much better at navigating. I don't know. There's some movies. Let's just say there are older movies that when you think about them today don't age well, right? Either politically or there's some kind of like. Something with some undercurrent of like sexisms or racisms or just weird things that didn't seem that weird at the time that don't age well. There's a lot of that. But then so like movies now are better at navigating that and being a little bit more like woke or whatever, but they're terrible at being good movies. Like so many movies now suck. They're just not good stories. Like the stories are bad, but so the older movies they have they might have some undertones that didn't age well, but the story was good. I don't know. That's how I feel.
That would be a conversation to get into. I agree. And it's funny because I actually don't think those are one and the same thing. Like, I don't think just because they're more sensitive to certain things makes them bad stories. And I know you're not saying that either.
Right.
But I don't know if it just boils down, honestly, to just getting to the heart of good writing, because movie tropes have really been the same for decades, right? In the 90s and the early 2000s and before, of course, when just seems like there's a lot more good movies. It's not like anybody was always reinventing or, just coming up with a whole new concept. A lot of times the tropes are usually the same, but it's just the characters are always memorable. The writing's always really good. I don't know what it is, but I totally feel the same. I feel like now just once in a blue moon, there's a nice, like good movie that comes out. But if you look back at any year, I usually say the cutoff is 2010. If you look at any year before 2010 and look at the movies that came out that year, you would it's like 8, 10, 12, any year. You can pick a year, 2004, it doesn't matter. You'll see so many like, oh my God, that was a great movie. Oh my God, that was a great movie. And I don't know if it's a lot of that stuff has transferred to television shows. Like a lot of those are cinematic now. They kind of pretty much every episode of a show tries to be a movie now. I don't know. But I miss just the good, fun movies too, though. Those are also gone. Like just fun, like Osmosis Jones. Maybe that's a weird example, but like there's so many just good, fun, like show me a new Shrek. You know what I mean?
Like Osmosis Jones is such a great example because it's a movie that took a chance. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like movies take chances anymore. They're so
that's exactly
by the numbers. Like every movie today feels like a Morbius movie, where it's like, "Yep, that was a movie. It ticks all the boxes. Am I pleased? Nope, but it was a movie."
That's exactly what it is. It's not taking chances because mainly what you see is sequels and reboots, and like everyone's just so afraid to take a chance, and it makes me sad because I feel like we're kind of ready for that now. People are kind of getting tired of like I know they're just trying to play into the nostalgia, and that's going to bring people into the seats. Like, I know, it's a decision, it's an intentional decision, it's a choice. But people, the thing is, though, is in the 90s, they were remaking movies from the 60s and 70s and 80s. They were already doing that, but they were still taking chances with new movies. So I don't know why that's been lost, but I hope that comes back, because I used to really enjoy going to the theater when a movie looked good.
Yeah.
But it's just not the same anymore.
And I don't know if we're just old men shouting at clouds at this point, but did you see that
Maybe.
there's a new Chicken Run movie on like Netflix?
Oh my God, are you serious?
There is. And so of course I watched it.
No, I didn't know.
And initially I was like,
And it wasn't good.
I think it's a pretty good movie for families, like with their kids or whatever. And of course, I'm watching this movie, and my brother, he'll tell it how it is, right? We're watching this movie, and he's like, "This is kind of terrible, right?" And I'm like, "What? For a family, right? Like parents and their kid coming in, it's probably not." He's like, "No. This is bad. Like, the original was so much better." So here's what we did: we watched the new movie, we watched all the way through, and then we watched the original. Because the original was also a family movie, but it told
a good movie.
The original Chicken Run, fantastic movie, S-tier movie. When you watch them side by side, you realize how much quality in writing was lost. Yeah, the new movie looks great because, there's a budget, so it looks great, but like, it's not clever. It's never dark. You never once feel like there's any sort of like something could go wrong, right? Like, it's just literally you show up and things happen. Whereas the first movie is like an actual narrative, like there are like consequences to actions. Characters have development, relationships with one another develop. Like, you actually feel for the characters and you root for the characters, and you don't know how it's gonna go, and it's so god dang good. And then the new movie is we run around and like things happen. It's actually weird. You kind of should watch it. It's bad, but it kind of tries to parody help me out, the secret agent that you love. It's a parody. It's a parody movie. Austin Powers. I couldn't think of his name.
Get Smart.
It kind of I couldn't
Powers.
do. It kind of parodies Austin Powers a little bit at one point, and I'm like, what are we watching? No kid watching this movie today has seen Austin Powers. So anyway,
right.
It's a movie that was clearly made for like parents that like when they were a kid watched Chicken Run, but now they're parents like my age, right? Like 30 something. That's what it's made for, but like it's not good. And it makes me so sad.
That's so sad because it's happening all around us all the time. All these movies are coming and going, and no one's remembering them because they all are not memorable. Like, I think about, did you ever watch, I loved this growing up, about the three witches, the witch sisters. I love it. Hocus Pocus. What's it called? Is that what's called? Hocus
I think
Pocus?
so.
That's right.
Hocus Pocus. Yeah.
I loved that movie. And no, I never saw the second one. I was about to, but apparently it was just really not good.
Yeah, I did see that one. I didn't hear any good things.
Just completely unremarkable. And then some are just unremarkable, others are just bad. But I feel like there's going to come a point where all these people, because once again, that's our age group again. Right. And I know they were trying to appeal to us. It's the same reason why they were trying to appeal to our parents when they redid The Parent Trap in the 90s. Or they redid a bunch of movies. That's just one example. But however, it's still maybe a sign of the times, because Parent Trap, the 90s one, is a really good movie. so I don't know. Something's been lost in these last 20 years, and I don't think it's a lack of talent. I don't think it's that, because there always has been and always will be talented people and talented writers. I don't know what it is, but it's not there now.
I think it's just that the higher ups, executives, aren't willing to let their underlings, so to speak, like the writing staff, take chances. That's what it is. So like, you have talented writers that are just wasting their talents, having to write some drivel that appeals to XYZ tick boxes, right? They're not allowed to take a chance to tell just a good story by its own merits.
Well, and you're right, especially from a corporate perspective, because traditionally speaking, a lot of businesses, like big businesses, if things are going well, don't rock the boat. right? A lot of the times businesses and especially like in the creative field, so think about video games or movies or anything, if things are going south, that's the time to get creative because guess what? This is either going to work or it's not, right? So when things are going well for a company, why rock the boat? Why take these chances? If you know this is going to make money and it's worked before, it'll probably work again. Let's do it again, right? So,
which is kind of weird because like the movie industry is kind of struggling, right? At least in theaters. So maybe it's all the subscription and streaming stuff keeping it alive because theaters are struggling. So you would think there'd be more movies taking more chances, but I guess they're just not making their money from theaters like they're used to. So maybe not. Which
for me, I'm more inclined to go see a movie I'm less interested in because of the movie experience, the movie-going experience. You know, when we were younger, me, you, and our friends, we'd go to the movies quite often. Like, that was something that we did. And sometimes we'd see good movies, sometimes we didn't see good movies, but it was still a fun experience. Like, there's something about it that's lost, and I don't know. A lot of movies don't even go to theaters now, or they coincide with, like...
With streaming.
Like... With streaming, I know one good movie that I will say that Disney came out with in the last, even now it's like 5 years old, but it was Cruella.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
Familiar with that? Recommend it. I'm not a big Disney guy anymore. I don't like a lot of what they're doing now with their movies, but I don't think they're that good. But Cruella was very good, but what was weird about that was that it came out in theaters. This was long enough after COVID to where it was out in theaters again, but it simultaneously dropped on Disney Plus, and you'd have to pay like $35 to watch it to rent it for like a day, or something. Right? It was expensive, and you think, okay, well, you know what? If you're going to the theater, you're going to be spending more than that if you've got a family of 4 to go to the theater and get your popcorn and everything. It's expensive, right? Right. So yeah, if you're gonna between the two, I'll just spend the $35 and sit on my butt and watch it. But
not me. So I'll wait until that price drops and it's just regular. I cannot be bothered to spend $35 or some equivalent amount to stream something to my home TV. I'm not going to do it. If I'm going to spend that much money, I actually would rather just spend double the money and take my family of 4 out to the theaters and get all the popcorn and stuff. Is it more expensive? Yeah, but I'm not going to spend $35 to watch one movie from my couch. I ain't doing it. There's 10 billion movies I can watch from my couch.
Right, and you spend $60 and you're getting an experience. Right, you're going out, you're going to a new place, you're with your family, it's different, it's a story that you can tell. Like, I'm with you, man.
I will say I'm a social theater goer. I don't like going to the theater by myself and all my friends, yourself included. Y'all moved away from me, bro. I can't watch movies anymore. I can't do it.
I do miss all the bros going to the movies. That was fun. Because for me, it's the same. I'm much more of a social movie goer, and that's obviously changed a lot since the pandemic. Yeah. But
shout out to my buddy Justin in particular. We were movie buddies, bro. We need to go see movies again.
He was really big on going to the movies. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I had a coworker I was just going to share. A coworker friend of mine from my old job. He was one of the few people I knew that would solo go to movies, but like that was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Like that was what he did, right? He's like,
and that's okay.
So what are you doing this weekend? Well, I'm going to go, right. That's what I'm saying. Like there's nothing weird about it. It to me, it feels weird.
I don't want to do it.
I would feel weird.
Yeah.
I want to be with people. Like I want to, even if we don't talk, like,
right.
I mean, obviously we can talk. Like one of the fun parts, because I'm not a movie talker, but I do love talking, like kind of at the trailers. Like, ooh, that looks good. We should watch that.
Yeah, at the trailers.
Like, I love that part of it. And
then after the movie's done, talking about the movie, like what you thought. Like, I went and saw the last movie I saw with somebody was that what was it called? Like Haunting in Venice or something like that. I saw with a friend of mine. And afterward, that's what we did. You got to talk about like because it's like a mystery movie. It's like, oh, how well it did the mystery and the weird supernatural elements about it, and got to talk about it. I think that's what it's called, Haunting in Venice or something like that. But otherwise, if I got no one to go with, I don't go.
Right, and it's not the same. Like you could watch a movie by yourself at home, and then if it really resonated with you, you could like go to Reddit or something. But
I don't do that.
It's not the same. Right. I'm just saying, like, you could, if the
could.
thing that you needed, for example, was that post-movie conversation, you could find it. But it's not
Yeah.
the same. It's still not the same.
This is why I don't belong to any...
I miss those days.
That's why I don't belong to any internet communities. I refuse to engage on the internet. If people are talking about a movie that came out, I'm like, nah, I'm just going to let that live with me in my head. We're going to hard pivot,
like
Alex, because that's not what today's episode's about. And we're a good chunk in, huh? Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, it's like 15, 20 minutes. That's all right.
We're 20 minutes, which is okay, because honestly, and we'll get to it in a moment, today's episode's pretty low-key. Pretty hang back, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment, all right? But before we continue any further, I wanted to take a moment to read a couple of comments from our newest member on Patreon. That's right, you can become a member on Patreon at patreon.com/profoundish and support the show with your cold hard cash. And if you do so, I'll just start reading your comments on the show live. And,
let's do it.
You can ask questions or maybe answer questions that we ask. Anything goes. Come join in and help evolve the Patreon. We're going to have some behind-the-scenes stuff coming out soon if we haven't already. We're kind of in the works on that. But we have a comment on, at the time of us recording this, on our Booger Balls episode, where our latest Patreon supporter says, note to self, do not eat beef jerky while listening to an episode of Booger Balls.
Ooh. Yeah, it depends on the jerky, too, because if it's like that chunky kind of jerky, after some of that stuff we talked about, that's not a good idea.
I love how, maybe don't be eating while listening to Booger Balls, but I love how listening back to Booger Balls, it's actually not too gross and not too bad, but there is definitely a shift, maybe like 2/3 into the episode, where we finally like sit down and really get into the toilet talk.
Yeah, so, you know what I mean? By that point, if you're 2/3 in, it's like, okay, I can eat, I'm just going to eat my meal. You think you know what you're expecting.
Yeah, you think you're safe. And then we're like, well, all right.
Yeah.
Time to double down. And then it was just all poop from there on out. And if that's not what you're about, I get it. But if you aren't eating and you're not,
it is what you're about,
then you should definitely go listen to the Booger Balls episode. He also commented, however, and I'm saying this because we got to hold ourselves to it, because Alex, I think you forgot what your plan was for last week's episode. He says, I'm looking forward to another improv episode next week, because you said we should do another improv episode like the podcast ones that we did.
Oh, no.
He says, those are my favorite. Also,
oh, no, we're letting our Patreon people down.
So coming soon, or we will do another improv episode like that. He also says, looking forward to Flagpole Pig. That was a memorable one. And I am also looking forward to Flagpole Pig. That's not this week.
Me too.
We're not there yet. Flagpole Pig will be special. I don't know exactly how, but it will be. So this week, however, we are moving on to the Balloon Wall podcast.
Balloon Wall.
I guarantee no one remembers Balloon Wall. It was such a small segment in our original episode. The Balloon Wall podcast. I forget what your words were. I think this was one of yours. Your words were Balloon Wall and I think Hedgehog. So you had to choose two of those three, and you went, well, Balloon Wall, the Balloon Wall podcast. Can you guess what it was about, Alex? It was your idea. Do you know what it was about?
Yeah. I think what I said was it was like a random topic podcast, and and topics would be beneath the balloons, and you'd throw a dart, and then they'd pop the balloon, and you'd see the topic, and you'd talk about it.
Yes, that was exactly it. So this week, we are in the same room together, and I have a wall of balloons. No, we are not in the same room. So we're not like throwing darts and popping balloons. But in the spirit of the Balloon Wall podcast, which I think we should, if we're ever in live action again, like in the future where we have like a budget and a studio, and we can throw darts at balloons, that would be hilarious. But until then, fun. To emulate that, we're going to do something very similar to what we've done before with like a random topic generator type situation. The difference is I've already randomly generated a list of 20 basically words, but they're supposed to be topics. I'm looking at the words right now, and I'm dubious that they really make for topics, but that's what we're going to do. Is I have 20 of these, and to simulate the dart throwing, Alex, you're just going to name a number. And that's the balloon you pop.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then whatever that topic supposedly is, we must talk about for some length of time. I'm not like specifying anything, but we can't just be like, bah, 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 moving on. You know what I mean? We gotta like get into it, you know?
I mean, it's the balloon wall podcast.
It's the balloon wall podcast. We can do a couple of these, not like just one throw and done, but we could do a few.
Yeah, we have a little time. So the number has to be between 1 and 20?
Between 1 and 20.
Okay. Let's do 19.
19? Broom.
I'm throwing the dart now.
That was my drum roll. Broom.
I liked it. That was nice.
I guess I should have just popped, like the balloon pop. That's what, pop. That's what the balloon sounds like. Pop.
Like, pop, pop.
Well,
you know, you're not going to know who this is, but any Zelda fans, that sounds like Tingle. Bing, pop.
Weirdly enough, I do know who it is, but not from experience, just from the internet. That's the guy that's like in that green like leotard. That's like super goofy.
Yeah, he's memed a lot too. Yeah, because he's a weird one.
I don't know if he's got different iterations in different games. Is he like a recurring character in like several Zelda games?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Because I thought so. I'm like, I don't think he's from just one, because I'd seen like images of him, but the images I usually see are like, I don't know which game it is, but like one in particular I see a lot more than others.
He's the only known slave owner in Zelda.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
He has it's in Wind Waker. So Tingle has brothers, and like he enslaves them. Like they don't want to work for him, but he makes them work for him. In just one game, I won't go into the specifics, but technically of his own kind, he is a slave owner of other Tingles.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's something Nintendo doesn't want you to know about now.
One day I'm going to play more Legend of Zelda games on my YouTube, but that's a topic for another day. Today's first real topic that doesn't include the first half hour of this podcast is books.
Oh.
Books.
Okay.
That's right. Pretty wide avenue there. Nothing in particular, just books.
Well, that's okay, because I actually have something I'm kind of happy to share about books.
Oh, okay.
So if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, like, Alex, do you read? You know, I would have said, like, I mean, I read from time to time. I like autobiographies, and like I like learning about like historical people and stuff, but not that often. And I always wished I would read more. But now, in the last really, it started in 2023, but really these last 6 months or so, second half of 2023, I've been kind of constantly reading a book. And I think it's because I finally found books that really resonate with me and that I just really enjoy. And I've kind of made a habit out of it, reading in the mornings and stuff, because I get up early and I like to read. And it feels really good. I don't know. It just feels good to do it. And I'm always looking forward to reading. Like when I go to bed now, I'm such a lame person. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I could get my coffee and I get my book. I can't wait. But so I'm happy to say that it's become a pretty big hobby of mine. So yeah, I'm into it. I'm already on my third book this year.
Really? Wait, when you say this year, you mean you're on your third book of 2024?
Now, let me explain. Yes, 2024, but let me explain. So I was halfway through book number 1 when 2024 started. Finished that. Book number 2 was like 180 pages. It was a pretty short story. So, and then I just started book number 3, like really recently. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to read 3 books a month. It just happened to line up that way.
I was gonna say but, like that's like that. You're reading voraciously now, friend.
Well, some people can do that, like my mom.
Oh yeah.
One of my siblings, they can slam through books, and I always kind of wanted to do that, but I never found the books that I liked. But now I've kind of found what I like to read about. But anyway, I guess point being that it feels good. I'll probably end up getting through, I would say, on average, probably like a book a month, probably 10 to 12 books this year total. So yeah, what about you? I know you used to read. read a lot. Do you still read?
Hold on before I get into me, because I want to know, what are you reading? You said you're on book 3. What are you reading?
So I am. This could kind of lead into a whole other conversation.
That's okay.
But also in the last 6 months, I've always been interested in this, and it's happened a lot more in the last couple of years and in the last 6 months. Been kind of getting a lot more into self-actualization, self-help, kind of those sort of philosophies, and of all varying degrees. So it's kind of books about that stuff. One book that I recommend to you specifically, Weston, really to anybody, but you just especially as somebody who is a creative and has goals like me. Are you familiar with the book Think and Grow Rich?
I am not. I'm typing it now though. Think and Grow Rich.
So that book is about achieving success, whatever that is to you. A lot of the times the book relates it to money, but it also correlates to any sort, whatever you define as your success. And it really talks about famous figures who've done it and what they have done and practices that you can do, that you can control within yourself and the things around you to help get you to reach your goals, right? And it's just a really good read, and it really gets you to think about yourself in a lot of ways that you may not usually think about yourself. And it really gets you to think about how you perceive things around you in a way you may not think about until you really kind of think about it in like a meta way. So that kind of popped my cherry, I guess, for those kinds of books. And then what I did was so anyway, and then I've read another book that's more like story based, but it's kind of about the same stuff. And anyway, so that sort of stuff. And then I also read a book, another one that I'll plug, I guess. It's called Transcendence. And it sounds a lot more hippy-dippy than it actually is. It's written by a psychiatrist who basically takes Maslow's hierarchy of needs and kind of like breaks it down and updates it for the 21st century and debunks some common misconceptions about that and how that correlates to us in the 21st century. And so that goes less philosophical and more like psychological and kind of more like how our brains work and why they work the way they do. But it all kind of teaches you ways to improve yourself and get better still if you really want to look at it from that perspective. So totally different kind of read, but really good too, Transcendence. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been reading. A lot of people would probably consider those pretty dry reads, but that's kind of my style of stuff, of books at least. I like to learn when I'm reading a lot of the time. So anyway, that's what I've been getting into.
That kind of makes sense because I know you've usually been into in general, you're actually more into like nonfiction stuff typically.
Say what? I lost you.
So you're typically more interested in like nonfiction stuff. So that actually kind of checks out for you.
Yes, in general, yeah. So it was only a matter of time, I guess, till I got here. These last few years, I've been really wanting to improve myself and kind of learn why I work the way I do, and how I can do these things to be happier but not just to be happy, but also to, work on my goals and stuff. So yeah.
I think that's really cool. I can't get into which I'm going to look into since you recommend it to me. I'm going to look into the Think and Grow Rich for sure. It looks like it's for like not even quite $3 on Kindle, so I'll probably pick it up.
Oh, nice.
Since Kindle is usually
great.
how
You'll be taking a lot of notes in there if you're a note taker.
I'm not. But
okay, fair enough.
Well, I don't. It's weird. Maybe I would be now. So when I used to read a lot more, so I don't really read at all anymore. Although I want to change that, I haven't found the time to change that. So it's kind of a matter of like I have to figure out how to work that back into my life because reading used to be a really big part of I did read a lot. When I was a kid, when I was like a teenager and going into young adulthood, I used to read a ton. But now I don't read at all. And I'm like, man, I I lost that. And I think just, doing a lot of reading in school and then in college, I got an English degree. You do a lot of reading for school, and I think it just kind of burns out the desire to read on your own time because you're too busy reading for school. So I want to get back into it, but I just have not found it. I've told a couple people this. I've got a copy of Velocity by Dean Koontz sitting on my end table next to my bed that has been sitting there for now like about a year that I haven't even cracked open because I like Dean Koontz. But I literally haven't read one of his books in so goddamn long. I've got a copy of one of his that I haven't read yet, just sitting there, and I'm like, it's right there. It's right there. I just need to read it, and then I'll like lie down and like start watching like TikTok or something, and before I pass out instead. So like, yeah, working on it.
It sounds like it's all about establishing that routine again.
It really is.
That's the only reason why I am reading as much as I am. I mean, I'm also really getting into what I'm reading about, but the only reason why that really started was because I made the decision months ago to go, okay, I'm going to get up this much time earlier than I usually do. And that's a hard thing for anyone to do.
Yeah.
And then I want to dedicate this time to reading because when I read at night, I get sleepy. It doesn't matter how riveting the book is, I'll fall asleep. So I chose to do it in the morning. So I give myself an hour in the morning. And at first, I remember I was excited to read, but I wasn't excited to kind of get up earlier than I already do. But then next thing I realized, like, hey, I get coffee. So, hey.
Yes.
And I know you can understand that. Coffee's good.
Actually,
so I get my coffee and
I might have to steal that because I've been trying to I'm one of those people that like I can down to the minute figure out exactly how much time I need to do things before I need to get to say work, right? Down to the minute. I know. Yeah. So I can stay in bed for as long as remotely possible. The problem is I don't want to live that style because that means when you do get up, you are in a rush to get things done. Right. And I would love to be the kind of person that actually gets up at a decent time with a decent amount of time, to get ready for the day, sit down and have a coffee that isn't like, you're just like slurping it down, piping hot while you're on the road getting to work or whatever. Like I would love to be that way. Maybe reading could be the gateway that says, hey, you get to get up, you do some reading. Because reading at night is hard because, like you said, you get sleepy. I wear glasses. So, like, if you don't want to pass out in your good glasses, I actually have a pair of old glasses that are, like, my crap glasses that if I fall asleep in them, it's no big deal, right? So, like, if I don't want to fall asleep in my good glasses that I can actually read through, then I can't really be, like, reading and then fall asleep. So, that's, like, a problem, right?
Yeah.
But, like, if I did it in the morning, I might steal that.
Good. I encourage you to do so. It is a night and day difference, not even just with the books thing, but from what you just shared about rushing. I've had my mornings where, like, especially quite a few years ago, it would always be kind of like what you said. Like, okay, I got to get to work at this time. That means I got to get out of bed at 7:57. And then, I would do the same kind of stuff. But then once I kind of transitioned myself in general and became more of a morning person, because, by the way, I am a proud morning person, but I trained myself to be one. I was not inherently one. And but once I did that, I really enjoyed having that relaxation time and that time to process your morning and process yourself and get your thoughts in order, before you even start your day. And now that I've incorporated the book element, that really helps. So that could give you something to look forward to. You could... That like when I told you that I get excited when I go to sleep to drink coffee and read in the morning, it's true. I've kind of built up an excitement for it. It's like, oh, guess what? I know it's, it's like maybe it's kind of earlier than I'd usually like to go to bed, but I get to wake up tomorrow morning. I get to do this and this and this, and you get excited about the next day. And I think that's a huge key to making that work. Is even if it kind of takes forcing yourself a little bit at first, you'll get into that habit. The next thing you know, you'll want to do it. So I recommend it, man.
I might just have to do that because I would like to get back into, talking about books, I have aspirations to write my own books, right? And I've, throughout my life, had many attempts or starts at writing, and I still have ideas floating around my head that are years old. I've made attempts to write books and write things before, and I still have those, and I'm trying to get more serious about that this year, possible announcements about that in the coming weeks. Possibly, keep your ears peeled on the podcast for maybe some announcements about that. But I've had for a long time aspirations to write my own books. But then the older I got and the more like away from reading on my personal time I got, the weirder I felt about writing because, like I said, I haven't read this book that's been sitting on my end table for like over a year, and I'm like, I come to this realization where I'm like holding my hand to my face, like I'm trying to be a writer, but I'm not even a reader anymore. I used to be, but I'm not even a reader anymore. How can I be a writer? So it's a really weird place to be in when I used to read so much and so many. I'm more of a fantasy or fiction type reader as opposed to nonfiction. I like the fantastical stuff. I was really big into the Wheel of Time series, or the what was it called?
I'm familiar with that, yeah.
The Black Magician trilogy, I believe, was one of them. They actually made a fourth book for that one eventually. Or even before, like when you're talking about like young adult novels, I was really into like some of the James Patterson stuff. What was the Angel Kids, and then I think Artemis Fowl. I don't remember what the Angel Kids one was called, the people with the wings. But Artemis Fowl was a big one. But obviously, like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. So those are some classic ones. I also read all kinds of weird, random things. Did you ever get big into the AR reading in school, the advanced reader stuff?
Yeah. Oh, geez, a long time ago. But yes, I did.
I remember reading some very strange books there that I hardly even comprehended at the time that I was reading them. Vanity Fair and Deer Slayer. These books that were worth like 150 points of AR points or whatever in one book. It was just very dense stuff. David Copperfield stuff. Like I've read a lot of crazy stuff, and then like now I like don't read anything, and I'm like, what happened, man?
Well, we kind of switched courses a little bit because I did a lot of the AR stuff, but like my mom wanted me to. I didn't want to.
Right.
Because that was optional, right?
Yes, I think there was there's an English class where we were doing AR stuff in junior high where you had to do a little bit of it to like pass the class, but then you could also shoot for like the records and stuff, and that was all optional.
Right.
So
I know when it comes to I guess like the fiction stuff, I have read things from time to time, and like the most recent fiction book I read was, I might have talked about it on the podcast at the time because it was very kind of unheard of me to read like a book, first of all, at the time, especially fiction. And it was Ender's Game.
Okay.
Which somebody recommended to me. Actually, she bought me the book. She was very kind of her and a friend of mine. And she said, like, what do you like? Like, what kind of stories do you like? And I said, well, I mean, I don't even know. Actually, no, I don't think she asked me anything. I think she knows I love video games. That's what it was. And she was like, this kind of is, it's not about, well, it kind of is about a video game, but like it's bigger than that too. And anyway, it's kind of got some references to that in there and stuff. And anyway, it's just a really good, because I forgot, you have not read that, right? Or you said you tried and didn't finish or something like that?
I never read it in school, which is when a lot of people that I know read it. I started to read it later, and then for whatever reason I put it down and never picked it back up, so I never finished it. Okay. I know what it's about, I know the twist, I know all of that because it's so classic, but I've never actually read the thing myself.
But I did get into that, and then as a kid I read like, we went through a lot of the Harry Potter books. What else? I was a big fan of the Chronicles of Narnia books. When I was young.
I only read Lion Witch Wardrobe of their books. That's the only book I actually read. And of course, that was the movie that was really big.
That was the big one. Yeah, that was the big one in general. My favorite of those is The Magician's Nephew, which I think is the first or the second one. Ooh. But, I mean, I say that, but I mean, once again, I haven't read it since I was like 10 or whatever. But those were good. Here's a memory. Now, this was when I actually did not go to the same school we went to. This is actually before I went to the school that we both primarily went to. This is when I was very young. We read through, I think there were books, I think it was a series of books called The Boxcar Kids.
Oh, yeah.
You're familiar with The Boxcar Kids? I don't remember anything about those stories, But when we were very little, they were read to us, I think. I think they read the stories to us.
I didn't get like way into them. Like I didn't read like all of them or whatever, but I read several of them. And yeah, that was definitely something that was more popular like in elementary school that I don't think I don't think we ever owned any as a family. I think I read them in the school library or something like that. Or maybe it was a classroom library, like a shelf or something. I read a few.
Oh, it's the Boxcar Children.
Hey, you were close enough.
I remember being Boxcar Kids. But yeah, there they are. And then shout out, final one, I guess I'd say, because we talked about this briefly in another episode, I remember. But Beverly Cleary books. I read a lot of those, too, when I was a kid. But shout out to Beverly Cleary.
I think for kids,
That's
was
Ramona and...
What was the Magic Treehouse? Was that the Magic Treehouse Kids, or was that just Magic Tree? Do you remember the Magic Treehouse?
I'm familiar, but I haven't read anything or anything like that.
I read a few of those. That was another just classic, kind of like Boxcar Children or whatever. It was just a classic one where there was like a zillion books.
Okay. Well, we talked about books.
We'll move on. I have just one more recommendation for anyone out there listening to this. That if you want to listen to, not listen to, but read fiction, but not like fantasy. I also really like Daniel Silva does a Gabriel Allen series. The name of the character is Gabriel Allen, and the author is Daniel Silva, and he does like spy thriller books. And I was really into those for a while. That's my other recommendation.
That sounds good. Give me that name again.
The author is Daniel Silva. The series is Gabriel Allen.
Is there a particular book or just any of them?
There's several. I think A Death in Vienna was one that I liked, but just if you want to figure out which one was the first one, it might have been The Kill Artist was the first one, and then just go for it. And if you like that, then, it just goes from there. Yeah, I think The Kill Artist might have been the first one.
All right, well, I wrote that down. I might look into that if I'm in the mood for something a little...
Yeah, that's a spy thriller series.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Because it's kind of got a nonfiction sort of twist to it, because it's kind of grounded in reality, but it's a fictional story. So that one is really good.
Right. Cool.
That was books. Pick another
right,
number.
Are you going to throw a dart this time?
No, I can see all. I can see all the balloons. You're throwing the next dart.
Oh, okay.
I've already seen all the words. It wouldn't be fair.
Let's do 12.
Pop. I had to do my pop. This one is.
You said pop?
Pop.
Oh.
No, I was popping the balloon.
Oh, I thought you meant the topic was pop. Like, I like root beer.
No, this is even weirder. Tigers.
Oh.
Could you fight one?
I could try. I don't think I'd win. Tigers. What's the first thing I think of when I think of a tiger?
What is the first? I know. I actually have I have an answer for this. The first thing I think of when I think of a tiger, I have an answer. Do you think of anything in particular?
Actually, I just thought of something, but I'll let you go first.
Is it the old?
Unless yours is really special.
It's not really special, but is it the old TIGG?
Wait, what is that?
Tigger the tiger. That's what comes to my mind.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's how he spells his name. TIGG.
You're right.
Tigger.
Yeah, Tigger is a classic. I mean, I used to be a big fan of Tigger when I was a kid. He was my favorite. And Winnie the Pooh. No, here's what I think of. I actually go to a story.
Okay.
So I as a kid, we went to the Brookfield Zoo a lot. And they had these like rubber like animals that you could get at the gift shop.
Yeah.
But there was like a hard rubber. Like you weren't supposed to really play with it. You're supposed to kind of put it up like on a desk or something.
Sure.
And there was one of like a white tiger. And I thought that was so cool. And I begged my dad to get it for me, and he did. And I just remember loving that thing. That's all I remember. So when I first think of a tiger, I think of that old memory.
I can't.
That's all I got.
Dude, zoo gift shops were weirdly so special. Like I do have memories of like just going through like the gift shop at a zoo. And it's like it's just, toys or whatever. But for some reason it was like all the stuff in them was never something you'd see at a toy alley. I can't talk straight. A toy aisle in like a Target or something.
A toy alley.
I know. I couldn't say the word aisle. I literally had to like stop, slow down. Aisle. A toy aisle in like a Walmart or a Target or something like that. But like they'd always have like stuffed animals or like the hard plastic type animals, the ones that you're not supposed to beat your sibling with, but you'd beat your sibling with.
Absolutely. Yep.
And sure. I think what I remember from that is that I think that's where my brother got a like monkey. It was like a stuffed monkey, but not like a plush monkey that would sit on your. I mean, you could put it on your bed, but it was kind of like a really skinny, stringy monkey thing that you could hang from things. I think he got.
The arms. The hands were like Velcro, so you could like Velcro the hands together.
I think so. Yeah,
right?
I think that was it, and I think.
Oh my gosh, I remember those. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with tigers. It's more like
crazy.
zoos. But I think he had a toy, unless it was for both of us and we were supposed to share. In my brain, my memory is that was his toy. I don't know if I got a toy or not. I don't remember it. I think he had a monkey one. And I don't know whatever happened to that thing. I think it had a superhero cape. Like, so we played with it or whatever. But it was just a monkey.
That... You unlocked a memory for me because, like, I remember me and my siblings had that growing up, or maybe we each had one. Maybe I just did. I just remember mine being an orangutan because, of course, it was.
Yeah.
And I loved that thing. You're right. Zoo gift shops, as the young people say now, hits different. It just hit different.
It did.
Compared to like just like a toy alley. It just different. It was good stuff. And I also had I got a magnifying glass from that zoo shop that day, and I loved that too.
I'm just trying to remember. Even the place would smell different because you'd come in from out of the zoo, and the zoo smells like fresh air and animals, and then you come into the gift shop, and it's like got this weird sort of like it's a mix of that, but also that fresh plastic from the toys in there. I don't know. There's something. I really want to go to a zoo right now. It's a little cold.
It hit different. I'm telling you. It just did. Well, listen, if you want to go to the zoo, if you come back down here, Memphis has it's one of the highest rated zoos in the country. It's incredible. It's like my favorite thing about this city, probably, or one of them at least, is the zoo. So you should definitely come down if you want to go. And their gift shop is awesome too.
I don't know if I knew that it was nationally ranked because obviously here in town, actually, we have a zoo over where I live. I haven't been to it in years, but I live close to a zoo. It's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah,
too.
and I've obviously growing up, we went to that zoo. I mean, it's good. I know one of the Memphis zoo's big claims to fame is because there's very few zoos left now that have pandas.
Well,
and they're one of those.
Did you hear this? I haven't looked into this super recently, but a while back, China is recalling all of America's pandas. So all zoos in America have to send them back.
Really?
Did you hear about this? Yeah, that's a thing.
No.
Because
gosh.
politics and stuff, right? America and China there's a lot of friction right now, politically speaking. And technically all pandas belong to China. Like China owns all pandas.
Correct.
So China is recalling them. They want them all back. And so all the zoos in America are, preparing to send them all back to China.
I didn't hear about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, unless something has changed and I just haven't noticed, or that changes by the time this episode comes out, that was the last I knew. And I'm like, yeah, they're taking them all back. And it's just... I'm not going to get into politics here on this podcast, especially with 7 minutes left or whatever we got. But like that's a thing where politics has now gone to the point where they're trying to take our pandas away.
They're trying. Man, we are a bunch of old men, aren't we? They're taking our pandas.
They're taking our pandas. What are they going to take next? Our guns? No, that's
right. That is weird. That is a weird thought, though.
Yeah,
that is. Wow, I didn't know that. I got to look into that. All right, you want to swing one more?
Let's swing another one.
I guess it depends on the topic.
Yeah, let's throw a dart.
I'm going to give it a solid 1.
All right. Pop. The topic is billiards, also known as pool.
I like playing billiards. It's a lot of fun. You and I've played. I'm sure we've played a handful of times before at some point or another.
Sure,
I'm sure we have.
I want to say surely, but I'm not entirely sure where we would have. I remember that you used to have that little billiards like decorative pool table that's like, you know, the size of a small shoebox or something like that you were getting rid of.
That's right. It was red.
And you're like, I'm trying to get rid of this. You want it? And I'm like, of course, I will take all of the things I will take all of your trash, Alex. Yes,
yeah.
I will.
Like a third of our friendship is just me pawning my shit off to you.
It's not even pawning because I don't give you anything
take it
back
every time. Yeah, that's true. I just give it to you. Just getting rid of it. Here, you want it? Sure, I'll make use for it. I still can't believe you took it, that M-Box audio interface.
I do. It's in a box. It's right here in my room. I haven't opened it. I just have it.
You know if that would be good for, honestly?
Yeah.
I just thought about a good way for you to use it. I mean, you could find other ways to do this, but it's a great way to plug in like multiple microphones at once.
Oh,
so like
absolutely.
If you ever have me over again, you can plug that in, then you can have two like high quality mics plugged in at once, and it processes it better and all that.
That's my
cleaner signal.
Yeah, that's my ultimate plan, is that eventually when I pick up another microphone is to actually step away from the USB mics and start playing around with like, you know, not USB mics.
XLR
mics,
yeah.
Right. And getting into that world a bit more, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on that. That's just kind of like the ultimate plan, is to get a little bit more professional eventually. But
yeah, well, when the time comes, hit me up. I'll head up there and I'll help you get things set up, because that's my favorite thing.
I know that the hasty way, at least that's what I'm going to say in my brain, the way I do things is that it's going to be on a whim. I'm going to pull the trigger very randomly, very suddenly, and that's like the one thing I'm going to be all about, and you won't even know. And then one day we'll be shooting the podcast, and I'm going to be like, do you hear anything different, Alex?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what's going to happen, you son of a gun. I know it's true. You'll just have that itch, and then you'll scratch it.
Not that any of that has anything to do with billiards, but... I do.
Yeah, you're right. Billiards.
I do like some 9-ball. I think I assume 9-ball is probably the common one that you play too, because 8-ball's the other one. But
yeah,
9-ball's the game that I know. I can play 8-ball, but I never remember the rules. And then 9-ball's the one where it's like I actually know the rules, but half the people I play with don't know the rules. Because I've played billiards, like pool. I've played pool with a bunch of people in different circumstances, whether it's our friends and friend group, or I've played with like random people at other events. One of my favorite memories, actually, of billiards is I was a participant at Illinois Boys State, and what they do, it's the VFW. Like puts on, I think it's the VFW, somebody, American Legion, somebody puts on this thing where they send a bunch of juniors in high school to a thing called Illinois Boys State, where you go to a college, an Illinois college campus, and you all get together, all these juniors in high school, and you learn about politics, you learn about like weird military drills, you learn about socialization, you learn all these different things. It's like a week thing that you spend on campus in a dorm over the summer doing this thing. And like, I ran for different offices because you're split into like these quote unquote like cities and then counties, and then the whole state is the whole group, right? I actually won 2 offices. I was the what the heck was I? I was a city coroner and I was a city alderman and then the county coroner. Believe it or not, not that anyone died, but I was a coroner.
That's cool.
But I had to give speeches and have an election and win votes and stuff. And then, especially at the state level, you had to like raise money for like, the campaign and stuff. But anyway, it was a whole thing. But there, actually, when it was all over, waiting on like parents to pick us up from this event or whatever, there was like this hall, like pool hall, where a bunch of us were hanging out, and I was just playing pool with a bunch of the boys. And the thing is like I didn't play a lot of pool before, so I'm like, oh, I'm not very good at pool. I don't play any pool or whatever. And I'm telling up this talk about how I'm not very good at pool, but I'm like trashing these other kids, right? Like I'm winning. Like I'm getting like the luckiest I've ever been, like just balls and holes just all day. And they're like, who's this guy? Weston's a hustler. He hustling us. And so, like, I got this like reputation a little bit before I left Illinois Boys State that I'm this smooth talking hustler at billiards.
That's incredible. That's a good story. I like that.
I was pretty famous for a little bit.
That's pretty good, man. Well, I just while you were telling that, I realized there is one place where you and I did play together, and if we would have, it would have been Jupiter's.
That's true, actually. Jupiter's, we might have, yeah.
And because I know that we were there for a few different things at various times, so who knows? It could have been then, but yeah, I always enjoyed it. In fact, I actually just here in town, there's a pinball bar nearby, and a group of us went out there, and we were out, and anyway, we went in there and we played. This was just a couple months ago, so and I haven't played it in a while, so it was kind of fun to, take out the old what do they say? Like bring out the old golf clubs again, or there's a phrase I'm thinking of, but
okay,
it was nice to play again and kind of to loosen up and just take off. There's a phrase. It's like the old dust off the old. Isn't there like a particular phrase?
I don't know what the phrase is.
Dust off the old blanks.
Dust off the old.
I don't know.
Pool cue. I don't know what the phrase actually is.
I thought there was an actual standard.
Dust off the old Jimmy Jones. Go.
So just to be sure, though.
Yeah.
Well, while you're Jimmy Jones, while you're doing that,
Jimmy Jones.
9-ball is the one I'm assuming the one I'm thinking of, which is the you wait stripe solids.
Yeah.
And hit the 8-ball in last.
The 9-ball in, yeah, because that's what it's called. 9-ball is that there's 8 stripes and 8 solids, and one person or team is on solids, one's on stripes, and then you knock in all of your solids or all of your stripes in, and then once you've done that, then you're allowed to knock the 9-ball in, and whoever knocks the 9-ball in first wins, so long as you got all your stripes or solids in first. If you knock in the 9-ball in too early, you immediately lose.
You're out.
Yeah.
I don't even know what 8-ball. I've heard of 8-ball, but I don't know how to play it. I've never attempted to.
Yeah, I don't remember. I always have to look up the rules. I think you have to knock the balls in specifically in order. I think, or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I always have to look that one up. I so rarely play it, but it's not hard to remember. I just never remember it.
So do you still have that old little red pool table? Or did that go away a long time ago?
I feel like I didn't throw it away, but I also know for a fact that I don't know where it's at. So there's a couple of options.
That's fair.
It could be in a box somewhere, in a box that I just haven't opened in a long time, or it might be sitting on my bookcase back home at my parents' house, but I don't think it is. So it's either in a box or it got thrown out at some point, but I don't remember it being thrown out. Because I think at one point in time it was busted. Like it leaned a little bit one way or whatever. So like all the balls would roll around.
Okay.
So I think at one point it might have got a little bit busted. But I don't remember for sure where it's at right now.
Just, it was just all those just hard billiards nights. Just playing on that little shoebox
tiny little
sized billiards table.
Because it did. It had a little, I think it had 2 little cue sticks and all the different balls and like a little, a little triangular rack to like rack them. It was just literally a miniaturized billiards table.
Yeah, I can't remember where or why I got that. I don't know. And I loved it. I used to keep a lot of little knickknacks up on my shelves and stuff. I liked often when we were growing up, I'd always host the friends.
Yeah.
I'm telling that to the listeners
The
because
weenie
obviously
nights.
Weston was usually one of the ones there. Little weenies. My mom would put in a crock pot. I don't know what she'd do to them. Barbecue and other things. Whatever it was really good. But she'd make little weenies, and they were really delicious. But anyway, I like to put things up on. I had like Rubik's cubes, and I had like weird, like not lava lamps, but it's like a manual lava lamp. It looked like one. You could flip it upside down. This blue goopy stuff would fall down.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I had a bunch of other little knick-knacky things, and one of them was see you still remember.
I do.
That's what I love. But anyway, and then I also had that little pool table. So, and I guess I think it was when I was moving, maybe at one point, I guess I gave it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want it. You want a Weston?
You were either moving or you like weren't, but you were like cleaning stuff or something. I don't remember because you did move a few times. So like it was either you were moving
we
or
moved
you
a
were
lot,
just otherwise cleaning up. I don't remember, but you were just trying to get rid of it.
You got my boombox too, right? Then I give you my old boombox.
You did, and that is I hate to break it to you, that is long gone. It stopped working at some point.
Oh, I'm sure. That was old when I gave it to you.
And I'll be honest, when you gave it to me, it just lived in the trunk of my car for a very long time.
Oh, sure. I totally believe it. I totally believe that.
It just hung out back there, useless to the world for quite some time.
I mean, in my head, it was better than just throwing it away, right? It's like, I'm giving it to my friend. It's his problem now. Whatever. I'd rather it go to you than go to the trash. So, even though it ended up just going to the trash anyway, but
moral of the
that's
story.
That's the life cycle of boomboxes.
Yeah, moral of the story, everybody. If you're trying to get rid of your junk, I am the junk man.
I'm the junk man.
Junk man. And I think that's how we're going to wrap up Balloon Wall. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Balloon Wall. Before you go, we have a few things to say. And that's just mostly that we want you to follow us on all of the things that we do outside of the podcast. Alex, where can we find you outside of the podcast?
You can find me at www.balloonwall.net.
I'm looking that up right now.
Make sure it's .net. You can do .com if you have to. But anyway, you can look me up at alexduquette.net.
This site can't be reached. Balloonwall.net doesn't exist.
Can you try .com really quick while you're there?
Sure.
And then I'll give my plug.
Balloonwall.com. It's loading. This site can't be reached. No one has Balloon Wall? Amazing.
Okay, Weston, we got to wrap this up. We need to buy this domain immediately and then never do anything with it.
Got to sit on that.
Yeah, just for a little while. So anyway, you can find me at alexduquette.net. That's kind of where you can find everything I do. I make medleys, so they're mashups. Usually I do mashups of popular TV show theme songs, so check that out. And then also, I do a thing called VGM Quest, where I do reviews / retrospectives of video game soundtracks, so make sure you check that out. You can find that on my website or on YouTube. It's VGM Quest. Final thing is I'm a musician. I'm a singer-songwriter. Listen to my album. It's called Songs from Sangamon Street. Go check that out. Weston, where can people find you?
WestonHasty.com is my landing page for the things that I do. You can find links to my socials if you want to come say hi to me on like Twitter or something. I have a Discord link there as well. If you want to come game with me, I stream and do Let's Plays on YouTube called Magic Man Mo. If you want to read some of my poetry, hastylymadedecision.com. If I make any progress on those possible writing announcements I mentioned earlier, they'll be there as well eventually. That's me. Thank you all so much for listening to Profoundish. I mean, Balloon Wall, of course. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, before you go, hit that like button, 5 stars, favorite, subscribe, follow, share with friends, whatever it is that you can do to help grow the podcast, and we would appreciate it very much. Check us out on patreon.com/Profoundish if you would like to contribute in that way and possibly have your comments read like we did earlier today. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time,
all right. And may your balloons fly high into the sky.
May your balloons fall gently into the wall.
Every time a balloon flies, an angel
takes a dump.
Every time a balloon flies, an angel takes a dump.